And the question that I have for you this morning is, what is the name for March's full moon? 215-263-WMMR. I was lucky and I saw a really gorgeous crescent moon right above the horizon this morning. Looked huge. So we got a ways to go before we hit the full moon. What is that nickname for March? I didn't know each month had a nickname for the full moons, but apparently that's the case. Call now. Let's see if you know the answer. I'm going to go through some birthdays today. It is Monday, March 8th, and it is Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees' birthday today. He's 76. We spoke to him not that long ago.
He was great.
He was excellent.
And he's my favorite monkey.
Yeah, me too.
I like all the monkeys.
Yeah.
I think we all have our favorite monkey.
But of the vocals on the songs, I always dug his the most. He had a little...
Great voice.
Little oomph.
He actually could drum.
Yeah.
But one thing that I think every member of that band did is that they had other artists that they loved at the time that they helped move along. Like when you realize that Jimi Hendrix opened for the Monkees.
Yeah. They had that clout because they were that popular. Mickey is 76 today. Actress Cameron Manheim is 60 years old today, so a big birthday for her. The Practice, and she's been in a bunch of stuff. Eraser.
She also played in Scary Movie 3? She played in that portion where they're dealing with the movie Signs.
Okay.
And she plays the cop whose hat keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Oh. So she's 60 today. Freddie Prinze Jr., he was in a few scary movies or spoofs and stuff like that. I Know What You Did Last Summer, and I still know what you did last summer. And I think I know what you did the following summer, but I'm not really sure. He was also in the Scooby-Doo movies. She's All That. Married to Sarah Michelle Gellar, and they're still together.
Still going strong.
Yeah, so he is 45 today. Actor Aidan Quinn.
Yeah.
Always liked him.
Desperately Seeking Susan.
Correct. Benny and June.
Yeah.
Legends of the Fall. He's 62.
We never had him in studio.
I think we've talked to him though.
Okay.
Yeah.
James Vanderbeek. Dawson of Dawson's Creek has a birthday today.
I like him.
Yeah, I do too.
I like the fact that in a number of projects, he's played James Vanderbeek. He was himself in a series called The Bee in Apartment 3C.
Right.
Or whatever the hell it was. And he's like 3 other times he's played James Vanderbeek.
Yeah, in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back at the end. Him and Jason Schwartzman. Or
Jason Biggs.
Jason Biggs, yeah. It's great.
He calls him a pie effer.
Yeah. You're the pie effer. He's 44 today. Randy Meisner, who played bass and sang for not only the Eagles, but also the group Poco.
He's great.
He's the guy that sings Take It to the Limit.
Yes.
You remember, really cool voice. And he had some, if you watched the documentary, the really lengthy documentary about the Eagles, he was kind of put upon by those guys, and he couldn't take it anymore.
He could not. Is he the one with the very long hair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He also sings, is he the one who sings I Can't Tell You Why?
No, that is not Randy Meisner. In fact, we have a picture of Timothy B. Schmidt here on the...
okay.
That's Timothy B. Schmidt.
Okay.
Who was his replacement.
Okay.
But Randy Meisner had long hair, too. But Timothy B. Schmidt had really long hair. So,
right.
yeah. Then you have Gary Newman, last birthday.
Cars.
The song Cars, correct.
And Cars.
Yeah, okay.
Now, he had a couple other mid-level
That was his main thing. But you know what? He kind of started to bring in that goth type look. And I remember seeing an interview with him on how they were doing, he was going to perform on a TV show, whatever it was, and at the last second he decided to put on eyeliner, and I forgot the reason why, and it became a thing.
His look, his android, sort of androgynous.
Yeah.
He now works for Hertz.
Oh, he does?
Yeah,
really? Cars.
I mean, you're going to rent a car from Gary Newman, aren't you?
I am.
He turns 63 years old today.
What's with the eye makeup? That's my thing.
Happy birthday. All right, let's see if we have an answer to the stupid question, what is the name of March's full moon? And we are going to go to Melissa, see if she knows the answer. Hey, Melissa, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Melissa, what is the name of the full moon in March?
It's called the worm moon.
Yeah, worm. Yep. Don't know why.
Because of the worms.
But that is correct. Melissa, hang on.
The spice worms, Preston, from Dune.
We're going to give you a digital download of the comedic action thriller Pixie, starring Olivia Cook and Cole Meany and Alec Baldwin. Pixie Hardy is on a path to avenge her mother's death and attempts a heist that will allow her to leave her small town life behind. You can own it now on digital and on demand. Rated R, and it's from Paramount Pictures.
It's literally called the Worm Moon because the ground begins to thaw and worms start to appear.
Oh.
And so robins show up and they eat the worms and spring returns and life is good.
I love it.
I like all that sentiment. That's wonderful.
All right, at the box office this weekend, number one was Raya and the Last Dragon, made $8.6 million.
You saw it? You said you liked it.
I liked it. Yeah,
I want to see it.
It's good. Lots of action in it. So.
Is Awkwafina playing the dragon?
She is.
All right.
Yeah. Then you have Tom and Jerry, second, followed by Chaos Walking, Boogie, The Croods, and New Age. The Little Things was six, followed by Wonder Woman 1984, The Marksman, Judas and the Black Messiah, and rounding out the top 10 was Monster Hunter.
I watched Tom and Jerry for a little bit.
What'd you think?
It wasn't bad. They just focused on the humans more than they should.
I hate that. I hate that.
Yeah.
What'd you come there for?
Yeah. I came here to watch Cat and Mouse fight.
Beat the piss out of each other.
That's all I wanted.
Well, we're going to start with the anticipated story of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry as they sat down with Oprah Winfrey for the much-anticipated, much-teased interview on CBS. Anybody watch it?
I did watch it.
I watched it, yeah.
All right, what'd you think?
Well, Steve, okay, I went into it thinking, is this girl going to be genuine? What did you think?
I thought exactly the same of Meghan Markle after as I did going in, and so I think.
I mean, she revealed a lot. If what she says is true, that's going to be damning to the royal family.
Nobody at the royal family, in the royal family, did not. There are people who told them what was coming up. They knew what was coming up. So again,
but I mean, the fact that that's out in the open. I mean, she talked about suicide. She talked about race. You know, the color of her child's skin. Like,
right.
To me, I thought it was.
Did you
bad.
find her authentic?
Well, that's what I wasn't.
Well, that's the question.
I don't know.
So I in other words, I can see that they. Do I believe her? No. Do I not believe her? No.
Right. That's why I asked you, because that's exactly how I felt. Like I look at her and she's so pretty, and she, was very open about a lot of information. I'm like, wow. And then as it went on, I'm like, but is she telling the whole truth? I don't know.
And she actually makes the point in the thing, Preston, and they both make almost a point that also sort of undermines. There's no way to know unless you were there. And it's like what has been said about The Crown in and of itself, the miniseries, or not the miniseries, but the series, is that we don't know what went on behind closed door and who's saying what. Nothing changed about the way I perceive them. I think go live your life, go be happy and do the deal, and that's
that the royal family or that couple specifically.
Both. Move on.
It reminded me how good Oprah is at interviewing,
yes.
and Oprah is just so great at casual conversation and then asking really in-depth questions and getting some truths, or what is the truth for Prince Harry and Meghan, and then getting back to making them feel comfortable again. She weaves in and out of it so well, better than most.
I'll tell you what, I watched it because we had talked about this interview for a while last week, and yeah, it's interesting, but I think I watched it more so because I was like, I haven't seen Oprah interview somebody in a long time. Like, she was more.
She's great.
She pulled me in more so, and like Nick's exactly right. She's just a great interviewer.
She also does the thing where they'll shoot like 10 hours of stuff, and which is great. But that, honestly, at that point, that's kind of the way to do it. After a while, it's like when you interrogate somebody and they finally break, you know. But she breaks them, with her. Her compassion, and she offers them bread a lot because Oprah loves bread. No, but it's the place where they were, Preston, was this serene backyard of one of their mutual friends. It's their house, and it's gorgeous. Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to go through some of the clips?
Yeah, we have a lot of clips.
All right. Let's go. Meghan, I'm meeting the Queen for the first time.
Harry and I are in the car, and he says, okay, well, my grandmother's there, so you're going to meet her. Oh, great. I loved my grandmother. I used to take care of my grandmother. This is great. He goes, right, do you know how to curtsy? What? Now, I thought genuinely that was what happens outside. I thought that was part of the fanfare, or I didn't think that's what happens inside. And I said, but it's your grandmother. He goes, it's the Queen. And that was really the first moment that the penny dropped.
Yep, that stuff happens all the time.
The funny thing is, and I recollect this, and hearing her talk leading up well before they got married and when they were just dating, and she said a dream of hers was always to marry a prince. And so she, and then she said, Preston, and we don't have it in the clips, it's not represented, but she said she really didn't do any research on Harry or the family or like she was.
Yeah,
did you believe that?
No. How do you know? There's no way you don't know.
You don't ask your friends. Don't offer. I mean, that seemed hard to believe.
I found that very hard to believe. Yeah, and you could tell throughout the interview who she obviously with the Queen had at least a decent relationship or respected her, liked her, whatever it is. But then there was other people when she talked about him, and she spoke politically correct, I think, about some people, but like specifically Kate Middleton, but. There was no, oh, yes, we like each other. We're sister-in-laws and we get along great.
She said she was a good person. She said she was a very good person.
Here is her speaking on that she got no protection from the family.
It was only once we were married and everything started to really worsen that I came to understand that not only was I not being protected, but that they were willing to lie to protect other members of the family, but they weren't willing to tell the truth to protect me and my husband.
So what... To elaborate on this, there were certain stories that would come out that the press and the people who handle the information and the media for the royal family would immediately jump in and just say, no, that didn't happen. And she felt they weren't doing that for things that she felt were exaggerated and ridiculous about her and Harry.
Well, and the one was that she made Kate Middleton cry, and what she said was it was actually opposite. Kate Middleton made her cry during the planning of the wedding, and that they didn't come out and say, hey, that story's wrong, and they just let it be printed and told in a way that made her look bad.
I saw this a lot last night on social media and this morning as well, but a lot of comparisons from Meghan to Diana, and Diana was a lot younger when she married into the royal family, hadn't really developed as an individual yet, and had a lot of similar problems. And so, listen, take the crown for what it is. I happen to believe it's pretty accurate. That's just my belief on it. And I've seen interviews with Diana, prior to her passing, where a lot of those interviews were echoed in, word for word, verbatim in the Crown. It just seems like a really odd thing that the royal family continues to cover up and deny as much as they do. It seems like they're covering up and denying things that don't need to be covered up and denied.
Well, here's the thing. Look at the complexity of the history of this monarchy that's gone on for centuries, and it's not like, hey, how do we do this a new way?
Yeah.
They've been doing it this way for the longest time.
All right, here's another clip about Meghan and Harry. We're told that their son wouldn't receive any protection, any security.
But the idea of our son not being safe, and also the idea of the first member of color in this family not being titled in the same way that other grandchildren would be. When you're the grandchild of the monarch, so when Harry's dad becomes king, automatically Archie and our next baby would become prince or princess or whatever they're going to be.
So out of all the things, the thing like you can say, okay, they said this, no, we didn't say that. It would be provable to say, okay, were they denying protection for her great-grandson, the Queen's great-grandson? Yes. So if that's the case, to me, that was the one thing that I said that, well, that seems absurd, regardless of whether or not you're part of the machinations of the family, the royal family, and what they do, or if you've rescinded your daily requirements on behalf of the crown, or however it works out. That's still a high risk. That's a high risk target. The kids are at risk. So you wouldn't want to suspend that regardless.
It seemed bizarre too, because they would still receive protection. So really the kid would get protection, right? Until it's old enough to leave its parents?
Can you even fathom that Prince Charles, who would be responsible and was responsible for paying for all that, out of that was part of his job, is to pay and make sure that they're covered and security-wise. Do you think he would not provide security for his grandson?
I don't know. I mean, that was a big part of the interview, too.
Yeah,
she spoke a lot about it.
All right, here's the conversation on their concerns about how dark-complected Archie would be.
In those months when I was pregnant, all around this same time, concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
And
there is a conversation. Hold up.
There's
Stop
several
right now.
There's several conversations.
There's a conversation with you,
with Harry,
about how dark your baby is going to be.
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
Ooh.
Did Harry comment on any of this stuff?
He said that it had happened. And I think that.
I think that was the part of the interview where he wasn't there, though. There was a part
later on. He comes towards the end,
right? But when Oprah was asking that particular question, it was just one-on-one. It was Meghan and Oprah.
He's in the background playing with a hacky sack. Preston.
There was a nice lawn. He was bored.
This is great.
That's pretty wild.
So here's what happens with that. By not saying the name or not specifying, you're basically saying it's worse. It's worse. It's worse. Yeah. Well, no, it's worse.
I don't know what you mean.
It's worse in saying it's not one. So who could it be? Is it everybody? Everyone is a suspect. In other words, you could have had someone who is a subordinate, mid-level part of the family. Talking to them about that. Is the impact the same if it's the Queen who asks it?
It was pretty interesting, though.
It's absolutely terrible, no matter in what iteration.
Matter what, but if it was a lower,
who is cast with that?
I know what you mean. And when she described the royal family and the actual family and then the staff,
right?
Like she said, it's a business, and there's HR. There's business aspects to it. So to me, that was something I never thought about. I never thought of it as a business, but it is.
Right. They're a business too. Everyone who has a public, it's all part of the deal, and everyone has to manage.
But there's with the royal family, there's a business structure, a huge structure around jobs and people who are underneath others and departments.
Exactly. Every government in the world is a business. It all works. It's the same thing. You lay out the charts and you see if you're making money, and it's all part of the same deal.
But she was part of the family, not necessarily the business, and she described needing some mental health and reaching out to the HR and saying, can you help me? And them saying, you're not a paid employee, we can't help you.
Well, they're talking about having suicidal thoughts, so here we go.
Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially, because I know how much loss he's suffered. Mm-hmm. But I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it. And I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
So were you thinking of harming yourself? Were you having suicidal thoughts?
Yes. This was very, very clear.
And at what point was that? Did she indicate?
She was pregnant, and they were coming. Now, what they did do, Preston, is throughout a lot is they're putting up. You know how vicious the British tabloids are. Yeah. So they're saying things that are, you're seeing headlines that are horrible, like on an overt horrible level.
Right.
You'd have to be made of stone to not be nicked by that a little bit. And then when you're running on hormones and emotions while you're pregnant, I could see where that would levy a whole bunch of damage against you.
They did side-by-side headlines of when Kate Middleton was pregnant and when Meghan Markle was pregnant, and it was like the same thing. It was like Kate Middleton has avocado to, help growth of baby, and then, for Meghan Markle, it was like, there's a water shortage, and that's what's used to grow avocado, or like something like that. Like it was the exact same thing, and she was being put down because of it.
I do recall, though, there was a grace period where they were very the TV star and the prince, and it was so there are people, and I was trying to get as wide a view on this last night as possible as I was watching and reading different things. There was a point at which that switch flipped. Now it's always going to flip at some point because that's what they do. They're piranha, the press. And they started going after. But there was a grace period where they were, for example, she talked about the trip she took with the Queen that day, and the press was enamored of her, and they were glowing that and in fact, Preston, the notion that was put out at that point is that the Queen favored Meghan Markle over Kate.
Right.
And, so all those dynamics, here's the bitch of it. Here's the thing that drives me crazy about all of this crap. The press will set up a dynamic that sort of, in a way, creates the dynamic, and then they report on the result of the dynamic that they created.
And so in the end, the press wins.
Because we're talking about it.
Well, yeah. And they create the dialogue, they create the dynamic, and then they reinforce that, and it sells, and people watch it.
It's called circular reporting.
Yeah.
All right, we have 2 more clips to play, and then I got some other things we got to move on to. This is Meghan as she tried to get some help, told she could not get some help, so this is probably what you were talking about, Kathy. Here we go.
I went to the institution, and I said that I needed to go somewhere to get help. I said that I've never felt this way before, and I need to go somewhere. And I was told that I couldn't, that it wouldn't be good for the institution.
So the institution is never a person, or is it a series of people?
No, it's a person.
It's a person.
It's several people, but I went to one of the most senior people just to get help.
So she was looking for outside assistance, counseling, whatever it may be.
And because of how it might look.
Right.
And that they didn't want to have that.
And then at some point, what were you going to say, Steve? Sorry.
No. I'm sorry. Yeah,
This is the last clip. Prince Charles stopped taking Harry's calls
for a brief period. Yeah.
So here we go.
Your dad stopped taking your calls. Why did he stop taking your calls?
Because I took matters in. By that point, I took matters into my own hands. It was like I need to do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point, but I've got to do something for my own mental health, for my wife's, and for Archie's as well, because I could see where this was headed.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious at what he was going to weigh in on the whole thing.
So he supported her. Both he and William were obviously devastated by the loss of their mother. They saw it play out in real time. A mother hounded by paparazzi and hounded by the press, and saw what it could do and how it could ending up in disaster in a tunnel in Paris. And outside of Paris. And so here's what they're dealing with, and they bring that. Now they each process it in a different way. Again, I say at the beginning of it and from the end of it, I don't feel any different about them, and I feel that there's probably stories all the way around. And there's some people who would like rush to Meghan's defense, who are actors and actresses, and other people who say the family is, they were beaten up, and then other people who say this is, that this is a travesty, that believe in the crown and understand that there are family squabbles and things of that nature, and there are things where it can get testy, but that it's a bit of a betrayal. So they're two sides, and the one truth of the matter is we will never categorically know.
Well, I'd love to hear the other side. I wish there was someone else who would sit down with Oprah too and give their side.
But they don't.
Well,
they
no,
don't.
They
The Queen needs to actually just show up, invite her in. They need to sit down and have some Weight Watchers together. And
I think the bottom line is these two felt that this was the best course of action for themselves, and they decided to do it.
Have it go.
And you're right about him, and Harry seeing or William seeing their mother die.
Yeah.
And that, look, it ain't worth it. Forget it. We're out.
And that's
there
the
you
call
go.
he made. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I do have a couple of other stories.
Now enough
to get to. Enough of that.
Enough of that crap. We're not even British.
Let's get a freak out story. Entourage star, Kevin Connolly threw a fit over his Tesla being towed.
Okay.
The manager of the flower store that his car was parked at banned him following his tantrum.
I think the flower store was right to do this if you read this story.
Connolly used the parking space when he was recording podcasts. I guess he would do this regularly.
All the time, and they had put warnings.
They spoke to him, and they left notes on his car.
Time and time again.
Warning him not to use it. And when the car was towed, he stormed into the store and started yelling at staff members and kicked over items near the door.
And he had his baby seat with him, Preston, the one that he actually sits in when he drives.
Oh,
yeah, because he's a little fella.
He's a tiny guy.
It's not your buddy's shop, is it, Case?
What's it called?
That I don't know. Nick's going to have to find that out.
The pedal workshop?
Because
Doesn't say.
that would be great because we could get him on the line.
Yeah, right.
Flower and design.
Wait, manager.
That would not be it.
Where is he?
This was sad news to see. British satirist Tony Hendra, who starred in This Is Spinal Tap as Ian Faith, the manager of the band, died. He was 79 years old.
Tony Hendra was one of the foundational people with the National Lampoon.
That's correct.
I mean, I used to love the stuff he Lampoon.
Former editor of National Lampoon and Spy magazines as well. He died Thursday in Yonkers. His cause of death was amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, which is ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. That's terrible news. He was first diagnosed with the disease in 2019. He was born in England, but he lived over half his life in the United States up until his death.
So freaking funny.
In the early 60s, he had performed with the Cambridge Footlights, a theatrical group, along with John Cleese and Graham Chapman, of course, who went on to run Monty Python.
Yeah.
And alongside fellow comedian Nick Hewlett, Hendra took to the United States. The duo opened for Lenny Bruce. They were frequent guests on The Ed Sullivan Show and The Merv Griffin Show.
I mean, some of the greatest